Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Solar Phoenix Happy Hour. I'm Blaze.
I'm Ken.
How's it going, Ken?
It's been a cool week, actually. Some fun stuff's been going on. I know we've been watching some stuff that
We
that
have.
I'm looking forward to talking about.
Yep.
Um, what about you? Actually, how has your week been so far?
You know what? It's been good. I had family come into town this weekend, my brother, his girlfriend, and her son, and my mom. And we had a blast. We went to the beach. We went, actually, for the first time in a really long time, I went night beachcombing. So that's a little treat that we may share with beachcombing with Blaze. But it was really cool to do a little night beachcombing. Saw some cool things, lots of seaweed. But with seaweed always comes other things too. So pretty cool. And what else? What else? I watched a lot of shows. Above and Beyond was this weekend also. So that's really about it. How about you?
Got to see some new shows that premiered. House of the Dragon started this past week, and She-Hulk, and um, whatchamacallit, I'm gonna tell you, I kind of enjoyed both of them.
You know what? Me too. Me too. I didn't see She-Hulk yet, so don't give any spoilers for that. Um, House of the Dragon, I knew like, kind of a little bit going into it that it was going to be kind of Targaryen centered and dragons and all that. And I love that. So I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Did you watch like all of the little clips on HBO Max that had like about each character or no?
Yeah, yeah, it was like kind of like stills where you could actually see. Yeah, I saw those. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But my thing is, I didn't read the books. I was a fan of the original show, but even after watching them, weekly, like I would still forget who's who at times, and I'm really hoping that I don't have to go through that again because it's all brand new names.
I think it's really cool. I love the whole idea of a prequel. Didn't they do that like Lord of the Rings had that trilogy and then they did The Hobbit, which is before the three.
Right,
So,
and now Amazon Prime coming up soon is doing was it War of the Ring or something like that? It's a prequel
oh,
to Lord of the Rings. It comes out soon, within like the next month or
listen,
so.
I would love that.
I think this is actually when Sauron's in power is
Okay,
is, is where it's taking place.
gotcha.
I think it's the second age as opposed to the third.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that makes
So,
sense.
and I'm
Yeah.
just a giant nerd now, apparently, right now, knowing all this.
No, not at all. So listen, She-Hulk, let's get the little teasers of it. What did you think? What was your take on it all?
I'll be honest, I loved every moment that I was watching it on the screen. They did a very clever job of nailing the origin very quickly, getting it out of the way. It was done very quickly. And once the origin hits, it's everything from there is boom.
Mm,
It hits the ground running. It doesn't stop. A lot of humor, which I was hoping for. We actually get Jennifer Walters, the She-Hulk, actually breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience, just
okay.
like one of my favorite memories of the comic books in the 80s and 90s by John Byrne was they would do things where she would actually talk to the reader while they were reading the book. So I'm glad to see that they did stuff like that. Um, and the fact that they are fitting in the whole fact that she's a lawyer and we're getting stuff in the courtroom and her dealing with the fact that she is a Hulk and
Right.
she's not like her cousin Bruce. She can actually control how and when she changes,
Okay.
and she's actually more confident and in charge when she's green.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool.
I have a funny, I saw on Instagram one of my friends, Tamala, who is an actress. You might have seen her she's been in a bunch of different movies and stuff, but Tamala D'Amico. And she has a new song out too. So I should have her come on in the next couple weeks. Maybe this is a good way to get her to come on, Tam, if you're listening. Um, but she had written something where I guess she saw an ad for it and was confused. She didn't realize that it was for the show for She-Hulk. So it was very funny when she finally realized that it was actually a commercial, an advertisement, billboard. But yeah, we'll have her come on and talk about it. It was pretty funny, and all of the stuff she's doing. She's got quite the career going, and so yeah, she'll have some good things to talk about. But speaking of friends, you have a friend coming today.
Yeah, we have Fox Trail Productions. I know Mandy Del Rio will be joining us tonight. I haven't had a chance to talk to Mandy or her partner Jack Thomas Smith in a long time. My other show, the two of them were nice enough to guest about 7 years ago when they were doing a public access show called the Indie Lounge, which was a spotlight on independent film and actors, and it was a fun show. Since then, I know that they've moved on and gone on to bigger and better things, and that's a lot of what I'm hoping that we get to talk about tonight. But kind of reminiscing a little bit about the past should be a little fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one piece that we're gonna be talking a lot about is a documentary, right? That's the main one that we're gonna speak of?
Yeah, actually, they've been doing a bunch of them for Newsmax,
Okay.
and we'll get into a little bit of that during the interview as well. So,
'Cause I know the one that that I saw the trailer for, it's heavy content. I don't wanna
oh
give
yeah,
anything away until they come, but heavy content and, dealing with things like that, it's gotta be hard as a filmmaker too when you have something of that magnitude that you're dealing with and it's not and it's real life. It's
right,
it's not a script that you're kind of taking liberties with and everything. It's it's a documentary, so you're trying to stay true to form and really tell the story properly. So yes, I'm curious how they navigated all of that, and stayed in it.
yeah.
So yeah. When you watch documentaries, do you watch a lot of documentaries first of all or no?
I do, but I'm very picky about the kind of like I'm more of an entertainment documentary kind of fan.
Okay.
I'm more of a behind the scenes, real life story of that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, if the topic is compelling, I mean, I'll watch anything to be honest.
Right. Okay. I mean, it's funny because any documentary, especially like ones that kind of tug at your heartstrings a little bit, but even something like My Octopus Teacher, which is probably the last one that I did watch because it was the second time I watched it and I just wanted to rewatch it. Um, but did you see that one or no?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so My Octopus Teacher, is about this man who befriends this octopus. And, but it unfortunately, female octopus, once they lay eggs and the babies hatch, they die. Spoiler alert there, guys, for the documentary,
Thanks.
but
I don't have to see
sorry.
it now. Thanks a lot, Blaze.
No, it's been out for a really long time, so I would hope that people have seen My Octopus Teacher by now. But, I mean, literally, I was just, like, crying at the end, and, yes, I'm just, curious. And actually, I see that Mandy has joined us, so let's bring her in, and, there we
Hey
go.
guys.
Hey, Mandy, how
Hi.
are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good,
Good.
Mandy. It's been a long
I
time.
know. It's so
It's
nice
been
to see you.
God. It's got to be like 6, 7 years now at this point.
Damn, crazy.
When we first met, you were doing the Indie Lounge, which from what I
Yeah.
remember was a public access show where you guys did spotlighting on independent filmmaking, actors, productions, um, with Jack, right?
Yep. Yep. Jack Thomas Smith. Yep.
And like that was how we met and got to talk about the show and everything else.
Yeah.
And let's start there from the beginning. Let's go back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the Indie Lounge too and what you guys put into that.
Yeah. So the Indie Lounge was a cable access interview talk show. It was really that was such a gift given to us. One of our Jack was, I don't know if you remember, we were talking about Infliction, Jack's film Infliction.
Right.
um yeah, so while we were promoting Infliction, we were showing Infliction in theaters all over the country really, but we were going to the ones on the East Coast to try to promote it. And one of the screenings, we met a man named Howard Grossfeld. And he was trying to, he basically knew someone who had a theater, and his name was Art Benito. And Art Benito also happened to run the cable access channel for Morris County, New Jersey. It was just one of those things where Howard was like, I want to introduce you to Art Benito so that you guys might be able to do a screening at his theater. And so we met Art, and Art Benito was like, you know what, I'm in need of programming for my cable access channel. And he's like, would you want to be a host? I mean, how cool would that be? Come up with an idea for a show, and I'll give you the airtime. And I'm like, that was really a gift. And it's really sad. Howard Rosefeld actually became one of our really good friends, and unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago, and that was really hard. But but it's just amazing the people you meet. You have no idea what's around the corner. You just don't know. So from there, we started shooting at Art's studio. I couldn't believe the guests I was getting there, like just reaching out to people and just saying, do you want to come and talk to me for, an hour? At first it started as an hour show, and then we took it down to a half an hour. But like it was just really cool, the people we got to come on the show. Welcome to the Indie Lounge. I'm your host, Mandy Del Rio. We have a fantastic show lined up for you today. We have our guest, actor, Mr. Peter Green, with us, and you'll recognize Peter from big hits like Pulp Fiction and The Usual Suspects and The Mask, and also several indie films, including two of my now favorite movies, Clean Shaven and Laws of Gravity. So please welcome Peter.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you for seeing Clean Shaven. You're probably like the 9th or 10th person who saw it. So thank you.
It's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Now you're a fan of the classic black and whites, I assume.
Absolutely.
Me too. I love old movies. Love them. And I think you mentioned in the other interview I watched you in, the Errol Flynn was a...
Yeah. My mother used to say, especially when I would get hurt or I'd come in bleeding, just be like Errol Flynn, and just, or she'd laugh or something and make it go away. But she loved Errol Flynn.
Yeah, he was great. The Robin Hood movies.
He just was devil may care, but she saw him as honest and wonderful and charming and just wonderful to everybody, which supposedly he was.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. We're going to take a short break.
Okay.
It's already break time. We made it through that so quick. So when we come back, we'll finish this conversation. So stick around with more Peter Green. Stay tuned. So after that, we started out on Channel 21 in Morris County. It was just a cable access channel. And then I just started reaching out to other channels in the area. And I'm like, hey, do you guys want to air this show? And people were so receptive, and they're like, yes, I do. We definitely will air the show. So it started airing in all parts of New Jersey. And then, it didn't stop there. I started reaching out to places in California and Connecticut and Massachusetts, and people were just like, sure, why not? I mean, they have, all these cable access channels have this airtime allotted. So, it was kind of cool. I just started shopping the show around, and then next thing you know, we're like, the show is running all over the country, and I put it on Teleview Connect, which it's like a, I don't know, I guess you would describe it as kind of like a portal for people to go find, public access shows if they want to license it, and they can do it for free, I guess. And it was really funny. There was this one prison that that licensed this show. I thought it was really funny. I'm like, oh, that's cool. They were long. They were in it for the long haul too. They were one of the longest people who licensed it. So it was just such an amazing experience. And so what happened? Art Bonito's studio got flooded, unfortunately. So we had to stop production for a bit. And it was just hard for him to get back up. And then we met somebody else who had another studio, and it was just these opportunities that kept coming up with these, basically free studio space, and they'd shoot it for free and air it for free. So it was really cool. And, when we left New Jersey, I took a break from the Indie Lounge in 2018, and we did a documentary that Jack wrote, called War Heroes. And so I took a hiatus from the show because I really had to put my time and energy, and I wanted to, into War Heroes. But like I told you, Ken, in my Instagram messaging, I really want to get back to the Indie Lounge, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do that virtually. I mean, you guys have such a cool setup here. Congrats on the new show too. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I going back, prepping to talk to you tonight. I did go back and watch some of the old episodes because they are on YouTube still. And one of the fun things that I miss, especially now since the pandemic, was going to conventions. I mean, they're starting to come back and everything, but I was actually watching one where you did one of the Walker Stalker conventions,
Yeah, that was
the Walking Dead shows, and just watching you like interview a lot of people there at the show, like, and seeing like the joy in your face talking to these people. I missed that too myself, and it brought back a flood of memories going back and watching some of that old stuff.
Here we are at the Walker Stalker Con at the Meadowlands in Secaucus, New Jersey. We're gonna go inside and see who we can meet.
Hey, how are you? My brother lives here. I'm gonna come over so you can say hello. Oh, right on.
The first film I did was this old film, but called Cry Funny Happy that went to Sundance.
Oh, nice.
And then I did this other film that eventually was called Unnecessary Death that went to South by Southwest and won the Audience Award at AFI. Most of my early career was all indie film.
Walking Dead was fun because I have done a lot of independent films where you go, you get paid hardly anything, but it's really enjoyable. Like I did one last year. I've done a lot of films that have been at Tribeca, which is a lot of fun to do too. And The Walking Dead is weird because you do an independent film and not many people see it. It's very satisfying. And then you do The Walking Dead and all of a sudden people in Japan are writing you. It's just kind of odd.
Oh, it's so cool. I know, isn't it awful how life has changed so much in the past 2 years? I mean,
Yeah.
it's nuts. So did you used to go to all the Chiller? And I mean, we used to go to Chiller.
We did
And,
all of it. Chiller, Monster Mania, yeah.
yeah, you're right. It's coming back. So hopefully, hopefully it'll really come back. We really want to go to Chiller this year.
Hmm.
I'll be honest. Part of the reason why I think I like doing this show is calling up all my old friends that do horror movies, and it's my own way of having my own personal convention now.
Yeah, right. How cool
Yeah.
is that? You don't have to leave your house, right?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Great.
Mandy, do you have a favorite person that you've interviewed that really like either moved you or just was so funny, or do you have somebody
Oh,
in mind that you can think of, or even a
so
couple?
so many. Oh my gosh. Literally everyone has been just amazing for even agreeing to come on my show.
Yeah.
Aside from my fiance Jack Thomas Smith, he was my favorite because I'm biased and we had a lot of fun.
That
Um,
doesn't count. That doesn't
yeah,
count.
yeah.
No, see, I was like, oh, that's such a good answer. And he's like, that doesn't count.
Um,
Actually, real quick, is Jack there with you tonight, or?
he's not in the room.
Oh, okay.
No, but I could get him.
No. Well, right.
No,
No, I'm not saying right this second.
Yeah. He would love to have come on. He wasn't prepared, so he'd be like, "Oh, my hair's not cut or anything."
That's me. That's me before every show. I'm in the bathroom throwing everything together.
Yeah. No, that's But as far as the guest, Peter Green, who starred he was in The Mask. He played the bad guy in The Mask. He was in The Usual Suspects, which is one of my favorite movies.
One of the best movies ever. Yeah.
Right? Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
that movie. So he was it was so cool. I forgot we were doing an interview because we were talking about movies and we just kind of caught up in like stuff we liked, I mean, that was like, he was just so real and that was cool. Everyone's been really real. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Vince Papale was awesome. He's the NFL player.
Yeah.
Yeah, his story was really cool and he's just such a sweet person. And Robert Fornaro from The Sopranos, like it was cool talking to him about James Gandolfini, because The Sopranos, I mean, it's so many people's, one of their favorite shows, definitely one of my favorite shows. And he got emotional in talking about James Gandolfini, and that was just so cool to get that insight. And he talked about working with Scorsese and Vinyl, and I love that show, Vinyl. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I thought that was a good show.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and then it was weird. I guess like the ones that were larger than life were kind of weird. Like Donnie Most was kind of weird to interview because I grew up watching Happy Days,
Yeah.
So it's kind of surreal to be sitting with him, and he was just so humble and so nice and so just Don, he's just like regular dude. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. Oh, Lou Temple. I can't forget Lou Temple, from Walking Dead. Yeah, he was in Walking Dead. I'm sure you guys know who he
Hmm.
is. But it was really cool because we were both extras. When I was a kid, I was an extra in Angels in the Outfield, and that was shot in Oakland, California. And what's crazy is that he was an extra in that too. And before I interviewed him, I try to do homework on everybody I interview. I try to get as much info as possible because I like asking people. I really just want to know about them,
Yeah.
and I want people to know about things maybe they didn't know before. Um, so I found out he was an extra. So I'm like, all right, we were in a movie together. So it was cool because then he wrote me an email afterwards and he's like, you know what? He's like, thank you so much. He's like, that was so special that you remembered that and that you brought that memory back to me. So that was really touching. That was really touching. So
Well,
many. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
well, it's funny you bring back like the idea of prepping for guests and researching. I remember the first time I had spoken to you guys and researching you, and we brought that up, the fact that you were an angel in the outfield, and I remember you lighting up when we were talking about that too. I mean, um, it's got to be fun going back and reminiscing, especially when you meet someone that you've actually worked with or surprised you that you actually wound up working with. You know.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
let's jump forward. Indie Lounge is now over. What have you been guys? What do you guys have been up to since then?
It's so
Because this is
crazy.
actually really very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's really crazy. We actually have been doing documentaries. We've kind of we joke about it. We've kind of become somewhat you know, what is it? Investigative journalists. So we went from entertainment to kind of doing investigative journalism. So we started doing, like I said, we did a documentary on our own called War Heroes, and we got Chris Pirano, he's one of the Benghazi heroes, to host it, and that was the most amazing experience. One of the most amazing experiences ever. War Heroes was about um, basically we profiled a soldier who had been killed in Iraq, and we got to know his family, his friends. We got to know him through them. So we made him the star of the documentary, because it's really important. We're really big on military, and first responders and police and all that. So we really just wanted people to know who Sergeant Ryan E. Doltz was. So basically, we did a documentary all about him, and that actually led us to the next documentary. We've actually been contracted by Newsmax to do factual, non-biased, documentaries, which has been amazing. It's been amazing. I mean, we're very like, Jack and I are very, we don't like spin, we don't like, you know, agenda, we don't like slants. And this is the perfect relationship for us because they're just so awesome to work with. And, they really want to make sure that everything is fact checked and fact based. And that's us, so that's been really amazing. We've been in the world of documentaries now since just 2021, but we've done, we're on our, what is it? I think we're on our fifth one. It's hard. It's like I'm losing track.
Wow.
We're on our fifth documentary now.
Well, let me ask you because a lot of the subject matter that you tackle is very heavy.
It
Uh,
is.
like,
It is.
can you get us into a mindset like after you've been interviewing people and after you're actually starting to tell a story that's traumatic and how it affects you too as you're working on it?
Oh, geez. It affects me so personally. Um, I get attached to people, and I get attached to stories, and it doesn't leave when we don't work with these people. It doesn't leave. Like, we're still in touch with like, someone throughout every documentary, at least one or two people. But you get very attached to people when they trust you, and that's very important to us, that they do trust us, and they can trust us. Like, we don't put anything, if they said something, they're like, hey, we don't want this out. it will never ever see the light of day.
Right.
We have a very tight crew too, who's very respectful with the guests, and but yeah, no, there's a few stories in particular that really don't leave you. One of them, I don't know if you guys have heard of David Dorn. David Dorn was killed during the George Floyd riots. He was a retired police captain, family man, really good guy. He went to go check on his friend's store that was getting robbed, and the looters gunned him down. Someone showed his video of him dying on Twitter. I happened to stumble across that like way before we were even doing these documentaries, and that haunted me, because it just reminded me of my dad or my somebody I love sitting there dying, and I was watching it, so that stuck with me. It's just weird. We were talking about life and how twists and turns take you somewhere. And we actually wound up interviewing his wife for America Burning, which is one of our documentaries we just recently did the beginning of this year. And it was just so weird, like how weird is that story really stuck with me. And I got to know his wife and about him and his family. And it just things like that, you just learn the personal. It's different. There's a difference between seeing it in a headline, or on Twitter, and you're really not connected to it. But then when you meet these people and you realize there is a person behind this story, it just, for me personally, it doesn't go away.
You bring up again one of the sad aspects, or one of the most some of the upsetting aspects of working on it. Can you give us some of the lighter things, some of the stuff that you were really very happy by the end of, or things that actually uplifted you too?
Yeah, I mean, all the relationships, all the people that we get to work with are so special in every way. And I love that we've connected with people, like even from War Heroes, the first documentary we did about Sergeant Ryan E. Doltz. We're friends with his family still. His mother, Cheryl Doltz, is just, she's like part of our family, whereas we think about her all the time. We contact her, we stay in touch with her, and his friends too. I'm friends with all of his friends that we got to know on Facebook, and it's the same with every documentary. We've made some kind of personal connection, and that is so positive. That's my favorite part of doing the documentary. It's just all the cool people we get to meet, amazing people we get to meet, and actually building relationships with them. That's really cool.
And I assume telling their stories too is a big aspect.
Absolutely. Yep. Or their loved one's story or their personal story. And yeah, it's like, I don't want to say it's rewarding because it's not about me, but it is to get their stories out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It kind of feels like when you were saying just documentary, but even just life in general, when you have
Mhm.
that connection with someone and they can just be stripped down to just say, how they're feeling, and kind of, if especially if they've gone through something traumatic, or even if they've gone through something amazing and they're sharing it with you, to be able to just be on that level. I used this word last week in our podcast. Authenticity is
Mhm.
everything for me. That word seems to keep popping up, but it's so true. And I can kind of sense that with you, that I'm looking forward to watching other things that you have, coming up in the future as well. Have you ever worked with the Siller Foundation, Stephen Siller,
Yes,
the Tunnel to
the Tunnel
Towers?
to Towers. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yes, we interviewed Frank.
Did
Frank,
you?
yeah,
Okay.
we did. He
He's
was
an amazing guy.
oh my God, I love him. Yes,
Yes.
we love Frank. He's amazing, and I can't believe the things he's done. I mean, it's just it's phenomenal. And we did a 9/11. That was our second documentary for Newsmax. It's called 9/11: The Day That Shook the World, and we were so lucky to interview him. And his story, it's so heartbreaking, but like he said, he turned it into something positive. So he's great. Yeah.
So let me ask you, where do you guys go from here? What else do you guys have upcoming?
Well, we're finishing up right now we're finishing up a doc. We're in the home stretch of that one. And and that's actually a second part from another one we did called Day of Outrage. So this is a follow up to that. So we're doing that, and then Newsmax said they have something else in mind for us, but we're not sure yet. But
Cool.
and I hope, like I said, I really hope to get a podcast going myself. Kind of hoping to bring back the Indie Lounge, maybe change it a bit to kind of incorporate a few other things I've learned along the way. So I'm really hoping to figure out how to do that.
Maybe
Uh,
we'll be guests on your show.
I would love that. Yes.
Or hey,
We
listen, we're open for segments too, so keep that in
Yes.
mind.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's a promise. I definitely would have you guys on. I just, like I
Yeah.
said, I got to figure out how to do it. This virtual stuff is it's kind of tough.
Absolutely. But yeah,
So,
and we'll help you out with that at some point. Don't worry.
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'd appreciate it.
We got you. We always ask our guests to, if you have a piece of advice that you can give to aspiring filmmakers, whether it's documentary or if they're, doing actual, live action and things like that. What's your advice that you give or
My
you would
advice
give?
is don't get discouraged and don't give up, no matter what. No matter what, sometimes people feel like they're not getting anywhere or they're getting older and nothing's happening. You don't give up though, because eventually it's going to happen. It's just you got to keep going, keep going. I just that's my biggest that's the best advice I can give for to people, because I hear people all the time, I want to do this, I want to do that, but the time, I don't, I'm getting older and it's not going to happen. And it's like, no, you guys got to try. You got to keep going. You got to try. You got to keep trying. If you want something, it's not going to be easy. If it, what is that line from A League of Their Own? If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's
Right.
just, I totally think that in my head all the time.
Yeah.
Well, Mandy, listen, I really want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. It was definitely a
Thank you
pleasure catching
guys.
up with you again. It's been too long. Hopefully, it
I
won't be the
know.
same amount next time.
Yeah, I hope not either. Anytime. And like I said, if I get my podcast going, you guys are definitely coming on. So
Awesome.
Yeah,
The
definitely. Please keep in touch with us.
thank you guys
yeah,
so much.
keep us posted with everything, and do me a favor. Also, tell Jack I was asking for him.
I will. I
All
will. Yeah,
right.
he's probably gonna be like, "Oh man, I didn't know I could come on."
Of course he
Yeah,
could.
that's good. Yeah,
More the
yeah.
merrier. Do you have a
Anytime
drink
you
there?
want
You
to
want to
happen.
you want to cheers with us? You have a drink there?
Yep, I got my drink.
All right,
All
there we
right.
go.
Cheers,
Cheers,
guys.
everybody. Thank you so much,
Thank
Mandy.
you.
Mandy,
It
thank
was
you
my
again. Have a great
pleasure.
night.
You too. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Ah, I loved her.
Yeah.
I was glad you mentioned segment because I'm like, ooh, we could get her to do a segment. That would be so fantastic.
Yeah. Oh no, I was talking about us doing a segment.
Oh, well, that too, but no, I was thinking, oh, she could be on our show doing
No,
a segment if
absolutely,
she's looking for something,
absolutely. You know,
in the
periodically we can have her work on a little piece for us once in a while. That'd be
yeah,
great. Like her and Jack are awesome, and I completely believe when they say that they're actually unbiased and everything else. Like I totally I after meeting them originally, it all makes sense that they're
right.
just very factual.
I
But
love that they are a husband and wife duo as well. I think like I always thought that maybe since I've been in this business for so long, I always thought that maybe I would like marry someone or date someone in the industry and we could, team up or at least like somebody who appreciates it and would team up with me, but
I always vowed that
not
I
yet.
would never. I always vowed that I would never do that, and it brings me a lot of happiness and joy to see that it can actually work.
Right.
So
Right. Well, I think when you're passionate about something and, it's one of those connections that's, the same likes kind of thing, I'm sure. And, uh, you know, yeah. So that's pretty awesome. Very
yeah,
sweet. But thank you for asking her to come on and for her being a part of it.
yeah.
Speaking of, the next part of things in the kitchen,
Let's see what Nicole has for us this week because I'm super excited.
roll that clip.
Hey, Ken and Blaze. I know you all were talking to a documentary filmmaker today, and I thought it was the perfect time to talk about quote unquote real versus processed foods. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions and a lot of guilt surrounding the idea of consuming processed foods when in reality, almost everything that we consume is processed to some extent. Like, say, for example, one of my favorite things to eat in the world, ground beef, it has been processed. It has undergone the process of being ground up from a whole cut to that delicious crumbly ground beef, right? Look at something like frozen vegetables. They went through the process of flash freezing. Really, so many different things can be considered a process. And I think what we're really talking about is ultra processed foods, things that have a really long list of ingredients and maybe are really far from their natural state. Well, I'm here to tell you that those foods are okay too. And here's why. I bet you thought it was going to go in another direction there. So a lot of quote unquote ultra processed foods can actually be a huge vehicle for nutrient density. So let's take, like, I don't know, maybe we have some viewers who are super busy moms and they're not meal planning an entire week. You take something like a frozen pizza. Oh my God, frozen pizza. Yes, take something like a frozen pizza and maybe you grab a bag of salad. I talk about these all the time. And yeah, that bagged salad, it's been processed as well to a lesser extent, but someone has gone and taken the prep out of cutting up those vegetables, washing them for you so they're ready to go. On top of that, maybe we're taking a really easy protein source. Maybe we're taking like a prepared chicken strip and putting that on top. So does it all fit together? Yes. Can we use these foods again as drivers for more nutrient density because they're convenient? Absolutely. So my whole point being here, I want you to feel a little less guilty and less shame about reaching for some of these processed and even quote unquote ultra processed foods, because guess what? This is real life and they can fit into the grand scheme of things and even in some cases help you get more nutrition in. So I hope that gives you a little bit of food for thought today. Ken and Blaze, mwah, back to you.
Ah, Nicole. We just love
Every week,
Nicole.
every week. I don't know how she does it.
Incredible. Hey, listen, you mentioned something last week, I think, or was it the last week or the week
Yeah,
before?
yeah.
It's been the past couple weeks. Swamp Thing.
Yeah, continuing with a green kick, starting with She-Hulk, transferring over to the Return of Swamp Thing, covered by Riff Tracks last week. You and I have
Yes,
seen Riff Tracks live before. We saw
yes,
Sharknado together,
we
actually.
did.
That was hysterical. And this time around, actually, it's the only one that they're doing for this year, which I was
Hmm,
very upset about because normally, I think even last year, I think they did like two, and this year they're only doing one. But usually do at least four a year. And with of course, with everything going on, they had to kind of narrow it down. But
right.
if they had to do one, the Return of Swamp Thing was definitely a way to go. It's a classic late 80s, early 90s. Actually, I guess late 80s because I believe it predates Batman, which was 89.
Ah,
Produced by Michael Uslan, who did all the Batman movies. Um, yeah, going back and revisiting that movie. Have you ever seen it?
was it everything that you remembered? You know what? I know I've seen it. I had to have because
I
it's
mean, the original was, B movie schlock, but it was fun. It was kind of horror-ish because it was directed by Wes Craven
okay.
with the great Louis Jordan, who did, he played a Bond villain among other things over the years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Wes Craven did the original. It was actually a surprise hit. And the first one was Adrian Barbeau, Dick
Oh, you're
Durock,
right.
and Louis
Oh,
Jordan.
I definitely saw that one with Adrian Barbeau.
Then
100%.
I want to say about 6 years later, they did the sequel. I think it was like '88. It came out, and it was done by B movie producer director Jim Warnarski, um, who used to work with like Roger Corman and all that stuff. And it was that kind of production, but much bigger budget than he was used to.
Right.
Um, and this was the one, and the sequel was the one with Heather Locklear.
Heather. Okay, gotcha.
And it's
Gotcha.
just like it's weird because I remember Heather Locklear, at least on TV, being a pretty decent actress. And then I saw this movie again, and I'm like, what happened?
Well, I mean, was the dialogue all that compelling? Was it like a real stretch?
Listen, yeah, it was late. I mean, it was mid late '80s comic book stuff, so it wasn't heavy handed. It was a lot of it was tongue in cheek. Delivery was
Yeah.
kind of special effects were great. Um, the story was all over the place. It was just fun schlock, is what it was. And
Yeah, yeah.
watching the guys from Riff Tracks, rag on it was hysterical. Them making octopussy jokes about Louis Jordan. Um, you know, what his swamp thing is actually doing jokes were abundant.
Oh boy.
But it was great. And the best thing too is the pre-show stuff when they give you like a short before the movie, and it's all good. It's all fun,
Yeah,
and
100%.
it's worth the money. I don't get to go out to the movies that much anymore, so it was fun to go out and enjoy that.
Good. Good, good. Well, glad you had a good time.
We have
Let's
to do
see.
a Riff Tracks again at some point, actually.
Oh, sure.
Oh, speaking of which, I found out afterwards, Mystery Science Theater came back
It
a few
did?
months ago. Season 13 premiered in May. They actually have their own website that you can go on to and subscribe to.
Oh.
And there's 7 episodes of the new Mystery Science Theater 3000, and it's actually very entertaining. They
Now,
actually
is it
tackle a
just
couple.
online?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they actually, to my glee, they actually covered a couple old '90s full moon movies, Doctor Mordred and Robot Wars, and it's all good.
Boy, now we're really getting into a deep
But
nerd zone here.
hey, it's all the same thing. Riff Tracks spawned from Mystery Science Theater 3000. It's all the same guys. So you know what? I need more of that in my life. Anything that makes me laugh that hard, I need in my life right now.
Wait, raise your glass. What glass is
Oh,
that? Oh, I
that
knew it. I knew it. Well, that is something else we
that
could
is my Super
mention.
Bowl 21 Giants
Yeah,
commemorative winning glass.
it's exciting because football is coming soon.
Yes, I mean, well,
Um,
preseason started.
Preseason started. I did see that the Eagles narrowly, got past the Browns, but we'll take it. We'll take it. Did the Giants end up winning? I actually
I
didn't
did
get to
not. I didn't get
stay.
to watch. I didn't watch.
All right. Well,
It's
maybe
only
I'll
preseason.
put. I know,
Doesn't
but you
count.
always kind of like to see it and just kind of like I don't know. I like to win preseason. I don't care if
Yeah.
it's preseason or not. So I
Yes, I
guess
think
I
one of
just
the
give away that I'm an
one of the
Eagles fan.
one of the last times you and I actually hung out in person was at a
Yeah,
Giants game. So
yeah. We went with Den. How nice was that? How
and my
fun.
and my sister, yep.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure the Eagles won.
Listen,
Yeah,
it was that period where
I know.
Eli, he just wasn't having it.
I have
It wasn't
these
working
two
for him.
I have these two twins that are diehard Giant fans, Allie and Meryl. I've known them since they were little. I call them like my little sisters. And when we go, the Eagles win every single time. So it's like I have actually good track record going right now. I even went to the Jets game last season, Jets Eagles, and the Eagles won over the Jets too. So that was pretty exciting. I have bragging rights for a little while at least.
Yep.
So, but who knows? I have no idea what this season's going to look like or anything. But we'll wait and see.
Speaking of wait and see, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
see what you have Beachcombing this week for us.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. All right, well, let's just wait no further. Here we
All
go.
right.
Roll that clip. Sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Well, whether you're standing or sitting on a dock or pier, do you ever wonder what sea creatures lurk below? Docks and piers are incredible habitats just chock full of marine life. They're also favorite resting places for seals and sea lions, and lots of shorebirds too. Underneath is a whole other world, basically an artificial reef home to lots and lots of species. I've found sea stars, barnacles, mussels, bryozoans, even octopus, crabs, eels, and a bunch of other creatures that hide amongst the pylons. Take a look at these barnacles and mussels found underneath the famous Scripps Pier in California. And in Avila Beach, I made 2 friends just chilling by the pier. This gorgeous sea lion and a sea otter chomping on some dinner. How cool are they? All kinds of fish are attracted to the cover that piers and docks provide. Small fish and crustaceans use the cover to hide from predators. Then big fish use the cover as an ambush spot to catch and eat those small fish and crustaceans. That's pretty sneaky. If you like to go fishing, next time try under the pier or near its pylons, and be sure to let me know what you catch. Well, until next time, explore, learn, Love the adventure.
It's like I tell Nicole, I don't know how you do it too.
It's just it's it's getting more fun every single week too. I'm
And
I'm really enjoying it.
the fact that you still tie it into each week is incredible. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, listen, and speaking of thank you,
yes.
Foxtrail Productions,
Yes,
your
and I
dear
want
friends.
special thanks to Mandy Del Rio for hanging with us tonight, and also a big shout out to Jack Thomas Smith. I wish he could have been there. I wish I see that part might have been my fault. I was talking with Mandy, for the last couple days going into this. I thought I had mentioned both of them. Maybe I just said her, and if I did, I apologize. But it all worked out, and actually, you know what? We'll have Jack on by himself for another episode.
There we go. Even better.
But that'll
All right,
do it for
guys.
us.
That does it for us. Have a great week, everyone. See you next week.